Hello everyone and welcome to Season 11, Round 1 here in F1 2020 here in Australia. So, definitely a lot of things to be excited for. With new game comes new strategy, new handling, new teams, new everything really. Sounds too loud. Let me turn it down by 1. I need to remember that. Always at 5. It's never 6. Every time I try. Anyways. So here we are in F1 2020. As everyone's been looking forward to. I am sure. I've been looking forward to F1 2020. And here we are. League racing has been a thing in other leagues. But SOR is definitely the best out of all of them. Who can deny that? So with last year's champion here, Ruthful, who's now in the AlphaTauri. Looking to contest for a double back-to-back win here in SOR. I'm not sure if it was his third, but I definitely know since I was commentating, this is his second season, at least for me. So we'll go through the current grid of this season. We have Bogdan in the Renault, Encore in the McLaren, Schoik. See, I'm probably going to bottle all these names, but you know, Schoik is in the Ferrari. Savi is in the Williams, Chris Alfa Romeo, Domaster the Haas, Pixel, AlphaTauri, teammates of Ruthful, who's also in the AlphaTauri, Almighty, Racing Point, Rowe, Ferrari, LSNR, Racing Point, Puller Hayes, Red Bull, Madshot, Renault, Yassen, Red Bull, GC Fungus, McLaren, EDR, Otto Busfa in McLaren, Hazy, Williams, Maple, Mercedes, and Fox to round up the Alfa Romeo. So right, we'll go on a lap with our championship winner here from last season. You want to break just after the black box here, going into turn 1 into 4th gear, but Maple is in the way and he's going to have to get out the way really quickly, which he does, luckily. So going through now the DRS straight, you want to break just as the black box ends off of your screen, going into 2nd gear here to get that extra bit of rotation here. 4th gear, use all of the curb there, as he's going to get a little bit of dirty air there from Rowe, and Rowe doesn't seem to be in any hurry to get out of the way and break just as that curb there on the left sticks out. That's your braking point. Use as much of the curb here in 4th gear. Use a lot of the truck on the inside, which he doesn't do. That will cost him a 10th, ironically enough. And then here, once the barriers starts to finish, that's your turning in point. Use a lot of curb, but not too much. If you do, you need to quickly gear up into 5th gear to avoid any wheel spin whatsoever here as the 50-meter board goes off. You want to go into 6th gear and then quickly up into 7th through that right-hander if you don't have a lot of rear downforce, but it looks like Ruthful has a setup with a lot of rear downforce. So here, brake in between the two brake marker boards. Pixel with a 120.2, that's a really quick lap. Hazy, who doesn't seem to be in any rush of getting out the way of Ruthful, gets out of the way on the racing line. So that's definitely something that will go to stewards perhaps. Here, use as much of the curb as possible. Here in Australia, he comes across the line. Will it be in 119? It's just enough to shy off his teammate by 5 thousandths of a second. And Yassen with the first 119 here of the session, the 119.8. So I'm definitely expecting a lot of 119s for reasons that this is split 1. This is the best of the best strategy run here. Softs to mediums. At least for me, I did softs to mediums, box around lap 10, and then get the mediums until the end of the race if you can. But it looks like right now it's an all Honda-powered podium, which is something you'll like to see here in F1. Someone who is on a lap is no one. No, or Madshot's on lap. He's on the mediums, so we'll ride on board with him for a little bit. See what he can pull off in today's qualifying session. Oh, and he loses the back in there. That's his lap completely done. His left end plate has been absolutely smashed to bits. McLaren behind him. Look, he didn't grab a puncture from that front wing damage. But that's everyone, I believe. I think Almighty. Oh, Rowe was on a lap. Oh, no, he wasn't on a lap. He was invalidated. But Almighty, who was, I believe, a Mercedes driver last year, has well, he stayed in his car, just under different colors. Don't at me. Tracing Point 101 here. I mean, to be fair, if you're a Mercedes driver last year and you've hopped into the Racing Point, that means that you really don't want to leave what car you were on last year as he invalidates that lap there, Almighty. As you can see on the right, it's now red. He used a bit too much to the curb, and he's out of this qualifying session. So we'll move up grid. I believe everyone's invalidated. No one can keep a clean lap. Okay, Polar Haze has just started a lap. Never mind. He's just... Is he on a lap? I can't tell. He's really low in ERS, so I doubt he'll be able to get much out of this lap. So he's already on 2 laps. I'll meet him, but it looks like he is pushing. We'll have to see his first split, see if it's where they've... Oh, he uses a lot of grass there. That's definitely going to unsell your car. And yeah, he's slowed down. 6/10 down on his time. Schwa has actually... Choik. I really don't know how to pronounce that name. I don't know if it's Schwack, Choik, or Cha. I don't... we'll call him SOR for today. No, I won't. Don't worry. So everyone's in the pits except for Polar Haze, who's in his in lap. Oh, Bogdan, who's just actually started a lap. We'll go a bit on board with him, the Renault driver, for this afternoon. We have definitely a lot of new faces here, at least from Split 1 last season. We have Schwark, who's there, Encore, Bogdan, Domaster, Save, Chris, Rowe, and I believe... Oh, and Otto Bushfa, who is definitely new, but it looks like Bogdan is definitely a very quick driver. He's saying a purple first sector, so he's definitely... He's quick. He's going quicker than a 119.8 if it were to end just there. But it looks like this could be a really good lap time. So we'll have to see if he sets a double purple sector, which he does. So he looks like a really quick driver, Bogdan, here in the Renault, entering this season, rookie of the season, who has already shown his mark by being a really quick driver, at least when it comes to sector times. He comes across the final sector now. Seems to be doing very good. Chris, actually, who seems to be a really quick driver as well, with a 119.9. So it looks like Ruthful definitely this year has some competition. Won't be as easy. And Almighty sets 119.7. That's an almighty lap there from Almighty himself. But it looks like Bogdan might set an even quicker lap. He comes across the line, and it's only good enough for P3. So what was a double purple sector has turned into a P3. So he definitely lost a lot of time in Sector 3. But Almighty there, who's in the... okay, let's be real here. The Mercedes of 2019 has definitely shown that pace. And seems to be in provisional P1 now, but definitely I won't say 119.7 will be pole position. I see it being a low 119, perhaps even a late 118 if we're lucky. But Almighty's completely bottled that corner on his slow lap. We got you there. Don't need to be shy. But Yasin, who's in a provisional P2, who's not far away at all. He's just 900ths of a second behind Almighty. So he just needs to improve by really a 10th to reclaim pole, which isn't difficult to do. But it looks like he's going to start his lap, yeah. So I think Ruthful might be able to catch up a bit more, because he did get held up 3 times during his lap. One is split 1, and then a lot in split 3. Like I believe it was Hazy who was in the way and who stopped on the racing line, or at least on the optimal racing line. It's a good thing they didn't crash, because otherwise that would have been a 5-place grand lead for both of them. But yes, and coming through the first split, he is sending a purple first sector on, and he's only improving by 2/100ths of a second. So that first split there doesn't seem to be too different for other drivers, at least. If 2/100ths of a second is purple, which we saw Almighty set, or Bogdan. I believe it was Bogdan, because he crossed the line after Almighty. So and he's going a 10th up through the middle sector. So this is a really good lap, and he went wide twice. I don't know if that is a invalidation, but it doesn't seem to. He seems to be going completely quick boy. He used a lot of curb there. He's definitely, yes, and not afraid to show his redemption, that he deserved to win the championship last year, not Ruthful. But now he's going to come across the final corner now. It seems to be a very good lap, very solid lap. And this is going to be a mega lap. He's going to come across the line now. And it's a 119.5. And then that's a provisional pole position by 2/10 clear of P2. But fear not, Ruthful and Pixel are now on their laps. And Ruthful to be in the 120s is not something you see Ruthful doing. Considering, you know, he showed his pace, but he's 3/10 up already in the first split. And that's already enough to get him into P4 if things were to stand now. And he's 4/10 up now, so it's quicker than his previous lap. But now he just needs to hope that he gets no traffic. And already there's an Alfa Romeo in front of him, of Fox, who seems to be eager on getting his lap started, but luckily he pulls over. And yeah, so here I think Riffle will be able to gain a lot of time, especially through there and here, because he didn't have so much of a great exit, and he gets a pretty good exit, pretty solid exit, and it's definitely not going to be pole position, but it's going to be enough to improve to P2, 1/10 behind Ruthful, or 1/10 and a little bit behind Ruthful. So I'd say he'll be able to come back in and try and go for another one. And Pixel has bottled his lap. He goes back into the pits after going out. He's actually invalidated it, so he's come back for a fresh set rather than going around again and sitting in our lap. But Lensar now, who has crossed the line to go into P7, and I believe you just said a time P7. I'm presuming he said a P7. It seems like a really tight grid. The top 5 separated by just over 5/10, and the top 3 separated by 2. So it's a close grid. It's definitely not as close as esports guys. They're all like 100ths of a second, but this isn't esports. This is a league for fun. There's definitely nothing competitive about. Well, yes, there's going to be a competitive nature with these drivers, but it's unlike esports guys have, where they get hundreds of thousands. That's Almighty who's bottled it, and he's lost his wheel. That's Almighty out of the qualifying session. It took a lot of time to actually register that his wheel was gone, but that's Almighty out of this qualifying. And I believe who's that? Is this Savy? Yeah, Savy, who is on a lap, and Almighty is there on the racing line. It's actually 2/10 slower, and yeah, people really need to avoid that that driver there. Of I believe it's a racing point. Yeah, as Maple gets himself into P10, the 121.2, and the racing point is still there, blocking the whole track, and now he's gone. Just as I believe Encore was on his outlap. So far good stuff from the drivers, except for unfortunately Schweik. I really don't know how to pronounce the name. Like I want to believe that it's French, like Schweik, but I want to also believe that it's English or some other language that I'm not aware of that exists. Okay, that probably exists, but that I don't speak. So we won't go into it too much detail. But actually, what I will do is that I'm gonna check race director, check out where is he? There he is. We're gonna view his profile real quick. Actually, no, we're not gonna view his profile because I don't have Steam overlay open, because last season it lagged the stream out a lot. Ooh, someone who is on a lap, Hazy there, who's 600ths of a second slower on his previous best, seems to be attempting to improve in the Williams, the really nice looking livery. And number 63, I believe that is Nicholas Latifi. Yeah, George Russell has number 9. I don't remember. I don't know drivers' numbers, to be honest. And he abandons that lap, coming back into the pits. George Russell's number is a number which I'm not aware of. But Bogdan now is looking to get himself into P2. Or into pole position, actually, I should say. Oh, he's Dutch. Okay, thank you, Yasin, for letting me know that he's Dutch. So I have no idea how to pronounce Dutch names, if I may be brutally honest with you. So I'm just going to call him SOR for today. So Bogdan going through, he gets a lot of understeer there through the first corner. This is definitely going to unsettle his car through the next straight. Coming through here, it seems to be very tight, keeping it tight. Also through here, it seems like a perfect sector 1. Now we'll have to see if he's quicker. He just needs to improve by 1/10.5 in order to get himself onto pole position, and he's 1/100th of a second quicker on his previous time. That won't be enough to put him into P2, but I'm sure he can improve somewhere else in the lap. It seems to be a very clean lap. He likes to use a lot of the curves, and he likes to use them perfectly. He's definitely not overusing them to unsettle his car. He's using it just enough. Purple middle sector by 1/10, and he uses a lot of the curve there. A lot, even that I would think that would be invalidated, but luckily for him, it's not. And with the 10th up, that's putting him into provisional P1. So now he just needs to keep it on track and not bottle it. Just like, okay, well, I won't go into detail. But he comes across the final corner now, and he comes across the line. Will it be enough to get a provisional P1? Yes, it is. It's a provisional P1 with a 119.4. So that's good enough for now to get provisional pole position. But he's not far behind from Yasin. He's really close to Yasin. Yasin needs to improve by 4/100ths of a second in order to reclaim pole position. So it's definitely not a difficult task for Yasin, but Fox has retired, and Ruthful, I should add, is also out. He's actually on a hot lap, so we're looking forward to seeing that. Now, will it be enough for P1 as... Ooh, he's sending a purple... Ooh, who's that? That's a... oh, that's actually Fox who retired. That's why he retired. I thought he just retired because, you know, there's no more time. But no, he's actually crashed out. So now it's a really tense fight for pole position. Bogdan is definitely not going to keep a pole position. I don't see him keeping pole position, not because I don't like the drivers, because this grid is so competitive. I don't think he'll be able to keep that. So Rootful is completely using all the curbs. And with the current time he's setting, I believe that's not enough to be pole position. I don't know, I could be wrong, but he could be improving in this third sector quite a bit, as we're right on board with him. Now, going through the penultimate corner now as Doughmaster retires from session. Luckily in the pit, so there's no crashes. Rootful comes across the final corner now. DRS is activated. Will it be enough for P1 in this race? It is, and Rootful is now in a provisional P1 by 8/100ths of a second, and that's qualifying over. So now everyone is on their final laps, and Yasin now is under pressure. He needs to be a 10th up on his time if he wants to reclaim full position, and that's going to be a difficult task. 1/10, especially with a 119.5, isn't going to be an easy task whatsoever. But there's still Chris, who's on a lap. I should add these two. Chris might be in contention here, even though he's a little over 5/10, but Yasin is in a provisional... I just went in this super weird accent there, but he's a 10th up on his time. The Lord Yasin wants to start off this season strong and reclaim his championship title, I guess, that he's never won, I don't think, but he definitely didn't win it last season. He lost out to Ruthful, so this might be a really close battle in between these two, at least in the first race. It looks really, really... I didn't see his second split. I was focused on his driving. So I believe Chris is just behind Yasin, so we'll have to see if Chris will be able to beat his time. But Yasin now coming across the final few corners. Oh, a big lock up there that might cost him a bit of time going through the penultimate set of corners. And he comes across line. He uses a lot of the curb. I don't think it'll be enough for P1, but it actually seems that it might be enough. And he goes P1 in this race. In Q1 is a 119.3, and Ruthful, or Yasin, is in a provisional P1, and will Chris be able to do anything about it? No, he's in P4. And now the last person to come across the line now, who's actually up, or he's actually down this time, Elensar. He crossed the line. Will he be able to challenge for pole position? No, he doesn't improve. GC Fungus, we've seen he's 5/10 up on his time, but that won't be enough to challenge P1, but it will be enough to improve on his time. Unless if he did something really, really mega through here. But no, he's already in the 119s coming across line. But he improves and he goes to P12. Encore, actually, who's 18 seconds slower than his previous time, will not challenge for pole position. So there you go. The two championship contenders from last season, Yasin and Ruthful. And I believe the order Yasin would have wanted to finish last season, Yasin first and then Ruthful. And then like that. So Yasin, Ruthful, and Bogdan all separated within a 10th of each other, I do believe, and a little bit more, but we'll have to see. And then we'll run down the grid from there. Right, so top two separated by just under a 10th, so even pace. Will they be able to extract that in the race? Who knows? But also Bogdan closely follows behind, which is a 10th behind these two, and top four actually separated within 2/10 of each other, so that's crazy. Top four in a completely different league, but then Almighty P5, who after his spin actually managed to keep top 5, which is impressive. Pixel P6, Hazy, Polar Hazel, Lensar, Savy, Fox, GC Fungus, Ro, Maple, Choik, Schwak, that's probably it, Schwak, that sounds Dutch, Encore, Doughmaster, Matshot, and Otto Busfa to round up the grid. So, will there be a wet race? Will there be any rain towards the mid-end race? That would be interesting, having dry and then wet and then dry again. That would be a Germany 2.0, but it looks like it's going to be dry. At least for the start. Oh yeah, I could see the fact there, Schwach in the Ferrari. So 25 seconds left until we start. Last season, if you didn't already know, the top two, excuse me, top two was Ruthful in P1 by quite a significant margin. He didn't. I don't think he raced for the final 3-4 races because that's how big of the gap was. He won in Japan, so yeah, and Yasin unfortunately couldn't contest much further. But Yasin seems to be on the right foot, at least in qualifying here. He seems to have the upper hand on his championship rival, as we go green for the race, and I wonder if there will be any. There you go. See, I can't tell if that's big or not. Too big. Can I change that? Graphics option, no. On-screen display, no. No, there's no way I can change that. I think it's the HUD thing, or it might be an on-screen display, on, off, delta time. Yeah, I think it has to be something you have to do. Okay. No, it has to be something when you're in the racing car. I was wondering if there's any way you could move that big left thing a bit more to the left, because it's quite big, and I know tire things are what everyone wants to see, but then again, if it's too big, it might hurt your eyeballs. Well, it seems to be fine for now. So, a lot of people have opted to go for the mediums. I say a lot, only 7 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, actually, I was right. 6 people have gone for the mediums to soft strategy, which is a pretty good strategy, don't get me wrong. These softs do die after 7, 8 laps, and then you really want to be boxing lap 12 if you want to make the mediums, if you want to make the mediums work until the end, which is doable, don't get me wrong. It's just complicated to do, especially with tire wear being so high in this game, and also the left front absolutely crying for mercy here in this track. So a lot of drivers, the top 10 at least, will be struggling on their softs, and then the rest will be all on fresh tires. One quick drink of the water later, as everyone lines up on the grid, ready to go racing here in Australia. Right, so we have 19 drivers here, 19 of the best drivers here in SOR, Split 1, Season 11, first race of F1 2020 here for SOR. Pit stop strategy, softs, hards, but it's definitely going to be softs, mediums, knowing these guys. Right, so as the lights get on, now we have 5 lights here in this Australian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, away we go here for the first race in F1 2020. Yes, it seems to get a perfect start, and Ruthful is all over the back of him, challenging into turn 1. Nothing much going on there, but we'll go further back down the grid, and it seems to be a pretty clean start from everyone. There's actually a mad shot there who's dropped to the back, and there's a Ferrari of Rowe who's spun from wing end plates, flying everywhere, and he resets back on the track. That's 3 people dead in turn 1, but it looks like the leaders have managed to catch on to something, as there's already some battling going on through the middle, and seems to be a pretty clean pack so far, except for these unlucky 3 boys towards the back. Oh, there's a big squabble here, and there's actually some side-by-side action going between Hazy and Polar Haze. Hazy trying to round the outside, heading into the second sector. He doesn't make it a move as the Red Bull blocks him off. Going through the front, seems to be pretty close. Ruthful 3/10 clear of his rival Ruthful, and then behind him we have 7/10 until anyone else, so it seems to be a really close top 2, but then the rest don't seem to have the same pace. But then again, it's only lap 1, it's only 6/10, and yeah, so top 3 or bottom 3 will definitely have to box, I'd say, this lap, considering the amount of front wing debris we've seen. But we'll go further back the grid. It all seems quite separate. You don't really have anyone who's all over the back. Actually, GC Fungus is all over the back of Hazy now, and won't be quick enough to challenge it into turn 1. But I believe after turn 1, he'll definitely be able to pull something off. Hazy doesn't get the best of exits, but nor does GC Fungus, as Polar Haze already with a 3-second type. There's a yellow flag behind. Who's that? That spun. That's Elensar, who's spun into the wall, and no front wing damage. Luckily for him, so he escaped that spin unharmed. Just really overheated tires now as the bottom three all go into the pits. Yasin, or no, not Yasin, sorry, Ruthful sending a purple middle sector, so even with dirty air, he's still managing to go quicker on Yasin, at least in sector 1, and we have a spin. That's the Has, I believe, Domaster. Yeah, he's lost his whole right end plate, and he is getting so much understeer going through that corner, but we'll rock on Yasin saying a purple second sector, and it seems like no one can challenge for his purple middle sector, so he's quicker in the second sector than Ruthful, as we can clearly see. But we'll move down the grid and let these two try and catch up, as there's some side-by-side action here going in between Hazy and and there's a bit of contact there, and he tries to hang around the outside. Hazy forced to give up there on that position, as we have another yellow flag. Who's that? That's that's Choik. Oh, he's lost completely his right wing, and he's rear-ended the back of Maple going into the penultimate corner there, and they're both into the pits. Oh, they both have yellow. They both have front wing damage. So that's definitely something. So a lot of people have been dying. There's definitely. Ooh, he seems to be riding the curb a lot. Encore as Polar Haze has left the session. I don't know if that's a crash. Is he even racing? Oh, he is. No, that's definitely a crash. I don't know if I have Polar Haze added, but he'll definitely be able to join me if he right-clicks my name. So, yeah, so top 12 seem, or maybe not top 12, top 10 seem to be all in their bubble, and then Alcor try to catch up desperately to the rest of the grid, as there's more position changes. As Polar Haze has actually been kicked, I'm going to see if I can invite him. I don't know if I have him in my friends list. I don't have Polar Haze on my friends list, unfortunately, so won't be able to re-invite him. So that's a lot of time here. Oh, and we seem to be getting the glitch. Maybe not. No, it seems to be fine. So we'll look at how many positions were gained. So it seemed to be a bit of a mix. 1-1, 1-1-5. GC Fungus with a lightning start there, already into P7 from what I believe was P12 at the start of the race. So really good race from him. He seems to be doing quite well on this race, as the delta is completely dead on the left there. There's no delta. I don't know if that's me or if that's a glitch. There's a bit of a battle going on here. The Runo of Matshot and Maple getting quite close to each other, close enough to suggest that they'll be fighting soon. But they're both on mediums. The mediums won't go to the end of the race by any stretch of the imagination. They're probably hoping for a late VSC or even a safety car to box for softs, I'd say. But now they've opted to go. Ooh, he's completely cut that corner match shot and extended there. So it's probably 2 warnings in 2 corners. As the Delta starts to come back now. No one's really following each other really closely, but Ruthful is doing a great job staying all over the back of Yasin. And if you look at their ERS, one's at 45 and one's at 76, 80. So Ruthful is definitely pushing as hard as he can to stay behind, or stay in front of Ruthful stay behind Yasin. And Yasin isn't even using his ERS, and it looks like Ruthful is actually losing touch if he wasn't having DRS, obviously. But these two definitely seem to be very quick. If I can get the Delta back, please, that would be great. But you know, it's fine. I don't want the Delta anyways. People looking very close is yellow flags, and that's a safety car. What happened? Who crashed? Who died? Is it Lensar who's crashed? And I believe he spun last corner and he's into the wall. So these guys now on the mediums will be enjoying that, because now they essentially rejoined the gang. They're on the freshest tires on the field. They'll be able to box later than those in front of them. Now the only thing now, yeah, there's a Lensar's dead body there. We'll need to stay in front and not lose touch. So for those on the mediums at the back, they're in an almighty good position. And I don't know if the leaders will want to box this lap for hards. because the hards could make it to the end. Now, do I trust the hards to make it to the end? No. But would I do it in a situation? No. Why am I suggesting it? I don't know. But we have we have a Renault who spun on the mini-map. Oh no, that's the safety car. I really need to get used to that. The Renault and the safety car are the exact same color on the mini-map. I don't know why they changed it from the golden of last year, which is odd, because now you have 2 yellow dots. But now what we see, a bit of strategy playing as Yasin goes into pits and Ruthful quickly follows in behind. What tire will they both go for? I am not sure. It looks like the mediums to the end for one, and mediums for hards for the other. So or they're both on completely different strategy, as they're double stacking there at Alpha Tauri. 5 seconds time penalty for spinning in the pit lane. They're gonna keep their P1 because those all the way behind aren't close enough. So I think Yasin went for a bad strategy call here. Going on the mediums I don't think was a good call from Yasin. You really want to be going on the hards now, because the mediums ain't lasting until the end. Already the preferred strategy here is softs to hards, and a lot of people opt to go for soft to mediums, which is a big risk. But they boxed, lap 10, lap 12 to make it to the end, not lap 6. So it's definitely a lot of tire management going to be involved there from Yasin if he wants to keep P1. But I feel like what Yasin's trying to do here is use the fresh mediums to his advantage, stretch out 10-second gap, even I don't know, 9 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds if he's lucky, and then box for softs, and then make a push back up the field. That's the only thing I could see now. He's definitely going to need to use his mediums to his advantage if he wants a chance at winning this race. Then again, I don't know what the penalty situations are. We'll have a look at that now. Yasin has no penalties. Ruthful has a warning. Chris has a warning. Bogdan has a penalty plus 2 warnings and is right on the edge of getting another penalty, and more penalties down the back. But penalties are a pretty easy task here in Melbourne. So far, so good for the top 2. Will it stay like that? I don't know. But it's only lap 6. Safety car will probably be in lap 7. So for next lap, I'd say, or not next lap, the lap after, for the lap 4. Not this lap, but next lap, the safety car is going in. That's what I'm trying to say. So Yasin will have an extra lap, I guess, on those mediums. Now, will he be able to keep the mediums going until the end of the race? No, I don't see that happening. It's just difficult to be able to guess now. It's only lap 6, lap 7 now, I should say. Everyone's going to be on the left there. That's satisfying 1 instead of 0. All the cars weaving in the back, but only had 1 DNF so far. So interesting stuff. No one has died turn 1. Well, a lot of people died turn 1, but it's not a lethal turn 1 death. But everyone who's on the mediums is on a good position, because they'll be able to box the softs at around lap 16, lap 18 even, maybe 19, and then go to the end. It's difficult to predict now. Rather than talking about it, I'd say we'll let the race decide what happens, if they are going to box again or stick out. Who knows? Maybe Yasin has epic tire management and has tried this before, and we'll be able to keep it until the end. Now it's just a matter of who can overtake who, because if Ruthful overtakes Yasin and Yasin is stuck behind Ruthful, he'll be in a bad position, because he'll be held up behind a slower car with slower tires, and then once he gets past in front, the hards will be the quickest tire out of the mediums. So safety cars in this lap. Yasin will be holding up the field as much as possible and try and catch Ruthful off guard, because a good exit out of the penultimate corner can be the difference between victory and defeat, especially with how close these two are at the front. But then again, Who knows? Ruthful might surprise us. So coming across the third sector, the penultimate sector here of this, or not even the penultimate sector, the last sector. Yes, I believe Yasin has already gone underway. Actually, he caught me off guard. I thought he was weaving all over the place, but it turns out he's gone. He's out of here. And Ruthful and Yasin have got the perfect start. And the third place and under seems to be quite overwhelmingly separated. So there's already a McLaren challenging Maple or Savvy down into turn one. They'll run side by side. A little bit of contact, and the McLaren driver is sent into the wall. So already a spin here in after a safety car restart, as he retired from the session. He's given up. There's also another car in front. That's Pixel. Pixel is actually spun from the end of the race. Oh, there's a lot of contact going here. Polar Haze and Savvy going side by side. Hazy and the McLaren or Williams of Savvy almost crashes in as they two. Williams going side by side entering sector 2, and I believe Hazy has front wing damage, and so does Savvy. So he's going to get mugged off by Polar Haze, I'd say here. Maybe not. Going around the outside here. Polar Haze again on Savvy, going around the outside. At the same place, the space is given in between them. And they're still running side by side here, going down the straight. And he gets the move done into P13. But moving up the grid now, and there's actually the Ferrari. They're squeezed out by Mad Shot. And GC Fungus is under pressure by Fox. As Fox gets the move done down the inside. There's a really nice move there. In a really awkward place for overtaking, as it's a tight right and they're kind of straight, but I believe GC Fungus has wing damage. He seems to be understeering a lot in the corners. No, it's just me, but someone who's really close is Almighty. Will he go down the inside heading into turn 1? No, but even if he did, Bugdon had it all covered. But Almighty gets a poor exit, very poor exit, and that's the end of that. Go further down the grid. No one is close enough to challenge into the second sector, so we'll move back up, and Ruthful is only 5/10 behind Yasin. So Yasin isn't managing to extend his gap. Then again, it's only been, as Ruthful gets a 3-second time penalty, so that's already something into the equation of this race. Does Yasin have a warning? He doesn't have a single warning yet, and Ruthful has a 3-second time penalty and another warning to top that all off, and he's going quickest in the second sector so far. So and he's improved by 0.2. So really right now Ruthful has to hope he stays within that 1 second until the next lap. So more 3-second time penalties, and the top 2 is already 1.6 seconds clear of P3. Chris and Bogdan on their debuts, as there's a yellow flag. There's a spin there that might be able to cause a safety car. There's a Haas who spun in the quick left-right in Melbourne, and no safety car, no yellow flags. He'll be able to keep going and keep racing. Well, Polar Haze might suggest going down the inside here, as his pit window is open for a 2-stop onto the soft compact tires. Oh, and Rogue gets it completely all wrong, and he gets squeezed out just to add some salt into the wounds there, and that's Polar Haze up into P12. Moving up the grid here, a Ferrari and Mercedes battling each other for P10. That's not something you want to be saying in real life if that was the case. Something that would be, personally, I find a good case is Yasin taking number 33. And who's number 33? Max Verstappen. And if Max Verstappen was in P1 right now, I'd be buzzing. So, not saying I'm supporting Yasin for the win, but if it was Max, I would sure as heck be doing. So, Maple gets a 3-second time penalty. Ooh, that's a nice camera angle going through there. I really like that camera angle through there. Ooh, really close action here. We have the Renault and the McLaren of Encore, who's really close to each other. Ooh, he has the DRS. Will he send one down the inside? He sends one down the inside. He doesn't lock up because he has ABS probably on. And he gets the move done there in that awkward right-hander. Now Encore will have the DRS here going through the final and the penultimate corner. Just about now. Ooh, he gets a scruffy exit here and he compromises his line. And Matchshot will be able to run away with a provisional P8 at the moment. Someone else who's really close is Fox on the back of Almighty. And he's not close enough to do anything. As a Lensar in chat, at least I made it interesting for you guys by crashing. Yeah, you did. A lot of people definitely closer to each other. Unfortunate that you crashed. Hopefully next week. Oh, and then we have Maple, who's actually gone straight on in turn 1, 2, 3, and rejoins on track. No front wing damage, so maybe a little bit of a punt going through turn 3. Not exactly sure what happened, but yeah, as I was saying, Lensar come back stronger next week in Bahrain, where he might have a monsoon. Who knows? Might be able to script the weather for next week and make it heavy weather conditions. As through the back here, Encore is lost touch with Matchshot, which proves that Matchshot has more pace and is running away. So lap 10, we're about almost halfway through this race, and Ruthful, crucially, I just realized, is outside of the DRS of Yasin. So now Yasin will need to use his mediums to run away with it, and I really doubt he's going to be able to make it to the end because he needs to make 20 laps on those mediums, which is already a hard task to do. I believe 19 of them here, but doing 20, it's doable, but it's already difficult for the mediums to stay until lap 12 to 29. So from lap, I believe it was what, 6 to 29 is going to be even a harder task. But Schweck, I think it's Schweck, is really close to the back of Encore now, who's losing touch with the leaders. Goes down the inside there of Encore, and they make a bit of contact, and the Red Bull of Polar Haze is able to capitalize on that move, as well as Polar Haze almost spins Encore out, but Encore in 2 corners has lost 2 positions and is crucially out of the points. So bad stuff there from Encore. Hopefully a miracle happens for him, but he needs to make another pit stop. Or no, he's on the hard, so he won't need to make another pit stop. But those who are on softs will, so maybe he'll not lose so much touch with them. But the Red Bull here seems to be very quick. Ooh, there's a little bit of an incident here. Pixel gets the move done on Maple, going through turn. I don't know my turn name. I think it's turn 9. Oh, he hits the wall. I would wonder if that is front wing damage. No, it seems to be all intact. We'll move up the grid as Red Bull of Polar Haze seems to be quick on Schweck. I'm probably bothering his name. Yeah, I definitely think it'll be Puncture as well, Lensar. But speaking of Puncture, well, maybe not Puncture, but Polar Haze gets the move done on Schweck, ending into turn 1, gives him the big old squeeze-a-rooney. So like that, Schweck can't challenge him around the outside, and Polar Haze crucially gets the DRS and has a lot of DRS to play with as well, and easily puts himself into P9. So I'd say the softs now from lap the 10 laps old would be crying for mercy, I'd say. Going up the field, GC Fungus, who's had a banger of a race. Oh, almost loses the back end there going through that turn. I really need to learn my turn numbers. The commentary is professional, my apologies. But I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, i.e. turn 6. We'll call it that corner, okay? And then this corner will be called this corner. And then we'll call this one the quick zigzag kind of corner. But yeah, y'all get my predicament here, as we have a 3-way battle here for P4. As Ruthful, since last time we've checked in on him, has lost a 10th to Yasin. So he's consistently within there, but I'd say Yasin, his mediums will be coming to a stage now where they're pretty evenly matched, and then around 5 laps time the hards will be quicker. So Bogdan not using his ERS, they have pretty similar ERS levels, but crucially Almighty has more ERS, but Bogdan has track position, although it's pretty easy to overtake here if you have DRS and straight line speed. It's definitely something to look out for nonetheless, because Sector 1 overtaking isn't possible. Sector 2 is definitely more possible, and Sector 3 is impossible. Actually no, Sector 1, the 2 straights you can overtake, but then anything in between really is a risk. The only place I see overtaking is through here, as where Almighty picks up a time penalty of 3 seconds. Here is where I'd say overtaking is possible, and then this straight, obviously before the S's, don't want to run side by side through the S's, and DRS straights. So moving back down the field, as it seems to be a pretty lifeless battle that turned out to be. It was really close. It seems to be quite separated. So I think now we're entering the mid part of the race where everyone's settling in as Almighty almost has a almighty spin there. Taking, I believe, Sergio Perez, number 11. Not sure. Ooh, we have a big screen for you there. That's interesting. Almighty displays that he gets in front of Bogdan, but in reality he doesn't. But Almighty now seems to be very close to the back of Bogdan, and when I mean very close, he is very close. Bogdan, both using overtake mode, but one has DRS, and now they'll be running side by side here, heading into turn 3, make a bit of contact, but nothing much. Bogdan is forced to go wide, but has the inside line for next corner, but Almighty is pushed out wide there, and they're still side by side here, running into the penultimate, but they're both out, and there's a massive crash, safety car, instantly massive crash, and they're both out, and that's wicked. Oh my goodness me, that was gruesome. Oh, okay. I didn't know that we were playing BeamNG Drive. That was a massive crash. Definitely something you wouldn't have seen last game. The crash physics have definitely improved since last season as Bogdan leaves the session. That was very unfortunate. I don't think you should have run side by side there. Personally, being an FIA member, I would definitely rule that as a penalty. Or maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see from POV. But yes, and now, crucially, this is a good opportunity to box for a fresh set of mediums if he has another set. If not, he'll go on to the softs. Will Ruthful follow it? He does. Okay, so they're both probably going to go on fresh mediums. Or, Yasin could risk it and go on the softs. No, he goes on the mediums. Luckily for him, and so does Ruthful. So, we're level pegging now at the start. And yes, so top 2 on the mediums. Chris boxing as well for me. I say everyone in the pits, or everyone would be want to box for the mediums. It's just a better strategy, as someone's been changing there to softs the last second, from softs to mediums. That's the McLaren there, who's actually going on the softs of Encore. He's going on softs. He thinks he can be able to stretch those softs out until the end, but every single one, every single driver has gone to the pits, even if it means double stacking. Definitely better tires is the way to go here. So now with that massive accident out the way, which is definitely not something you want to be seeing in in this league, or even in racing in general. That was a massive crash. The R3, as you say, wasn't even a little bit dirty. It was a big boy dirty. Yes, run side by side is allowed, but running side by side through a quick right-hander where the curb is very slippery on the inside, that's a big no-no. Unfortunately, Bogdan is the person who was affected by that the most, and it's unfortunate because he was in a net P3 or P4. No, it was P4 when he started pretty high for his debut race here in SOR. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, I guess that's racing sometimes. But now I'm starting to think if softs wasn't the better option, because think about it, the softs will probably go an extra lap here, not this lap, but next lap, which means we'll be starting racing on lap 18. They'll only need to get those softs an extra 10 laps, and if they could do that normally with quality laps or quality lap tires, I'm pretty sure they would be able to do it on the freshest of softs you can get. Yeah, Bogdan. We saw that. You could skip forward back in the stream to see exactly what happened. I didn't really get the best camera angle of it. I wasn't riding on board. I didn't think y'all'd spin out, but you had the outside line. He had the inside line. Or no, you had the inside line. I'm trying to think. No, he had the inside line. You had the outside line. You were entitled really to the racing line. You were ahead. He went off track to stay in front, and then yeah, there was a big accident there. DNF club in the chat, I see. Yeah, unfortunately that's how it is in yeah, I mean Melbourne is really a tricky track for overtaking, and if you overtake in wrong places, it's definitely not something you want to be seeing. But I think Bogdan, you had the right to keep that corner. He, like right here where you see Yasin, he went off track there, Polar Haze, to stay in front of you. I'm pretty sure he even got a warning for that. We'll have to see just before the incident. Where is he? Polar Haze. Oh no, it wasn't Polar Haze. Who was it? Was it Almighty? Yeah, it was Almighty crushed with 5-second penalty. Yeah, he got a penalty. Yeah, look, see? Penalty, warning. He did get a penalty for crashing into you. But then he also got a warning just before on the same lap. So yeah, he definitely was dirty what he did. But hey, that's definitely something. As we have supporters of Encore going through here. It was in, where is he? He's in a provisional P8 at the moment. So I'll have to see what he does. But crucially, the leaders now, everyone is on the same strategy except for Fox. Fox is definitely someone to look out for. He might be catching up. Well, he'll definitely have the quickest tires out of all of them towards the start. So he'll be wanting to make his moves really quickly as Yasin almost loses the back end there. Bruthful now in a really good position. They did seem to be on pretty even pace on worn out tires. Then again, they probably both pushed differently in quality, but here, fresh tires, same level, pegging is same, same everything. But now, Yasin really needs to get a good restart. As he gets a good restart, Bruthful still thinks he's warming up his tires, and Yasin is already 7/10 clear of P2. So great start from them, or from him, as we go down the back of the field. We don't see anyone challenging each other for lead as Savvy has completely lost concentration going through there. But Encore now is on the back of Schwack with the Sentinel. He doesn't send one down the inside. He is unfortunately a little too back. But Almighty after his spin is in P9 now. He was in P8, now he's already in P9. But the soft runner of Fox will want to catch up as soon as possible to try and capitalize on quick laps. Or not quick laps, on track position. But he's already 9/10 behind the person who's in front of him. And he's already actually outside the DRS as Encore gets a 3-second time penalty. Going through the second sector. Now we'll go through back the grid as Encore is looking all over the back of Schwack. So Schwack is definitely being put under pressure here. Oh, and there's a big accident matchup that's going to bring out another safety car. Definitely, no, I thought he got rid of his wheel. No, it's not definitely a safety car worthy. That is just a little incident, or not a little incident, that's definitely him, who's going to be struggling for the rest of the race. That's his front wing gone, and that's definitely his chances of winning gone. His chances of getting good points gone as well. So Encore now is all over the back of Schwack. Actually gets a really good run now, and they'll be running side by side heading into turn 1. But I believe, Encore gets the move done before the start of turn 1, and Schwack now might fall under the clinches of Almighty. Actually, no, it seems to be good for a time being, as there's some action here going back. Maple gets the move done on Hazy heading into turn 3. We'll go back further up the grid. Encore now with his fresh softs will want to run away. And he's 2/10 up on his previous best, which I'm not sure what his previous best was. But being 2/10 up your time is no shortage of impressiveness, as Fox isn't really able to catch up to Chris despite being on brand new soft tires. So maybe his pace isn't the best around this track, but that is definitely something we'll have to find out eventually. But as I was saying, I remember in USA talking about the overtake button, because that's when we learned overtake button was going to be a thing, as Rowe gets the move down of Cheesy Fungus. He doesn't get the move done. He completely pushes Cheesy Fungus out wide, and Cheesy Fungus has lost 1, 2, 3, 4 positions in a few corners as Hazy tries to go around the outside of him and doesn't get the move done. But he will get the switchback, and that's Savvy, who's actually completely spun, and I have no idea what happened, but that looked like a really awkward semi-spin there from him. I believe he got on the traction a little too early and actually crashed out as a result, and his right end plate is gone. But yes, I remember Cheesy Fungus gets a 3-second time penalty as I go on to him. So now Schwack seems to be closing in on Encore because his soft tires definitely ain't gonna last until the end. That I'm willing to bet on that. Well, softs will last until the end, but don't think he'll be at the same pace he is now. Not by a long shot. But Ruthful still within 5/10 of Yasin. But crucially, Yasin still does not have any time penalties. He has a warning, and that's it. And I look, and we could see in the background there, Almighty losing the back end. As, oh my goodness me, Ruthful has a lot of penalties. He has 3 seconds, 6, 9, and is 1 warning shy of getting another penalty. So Ruthful will not be winning this race. And by the looks of things, Yasin is going for a pretty comfortable win. Actually, Chris has no penalties, and he's in P3. So, if Yasin does somehow get a penalty, he'll fall behind, and then Chris might win. So, who knows? But Ruthful is saying purple sectors. He really needs to get in front of Yasin now. He has 9 seconds worth of time penalty. He needs to overtake him and create a gap of 9 seconds in this race. That means he needs to be at least a second quicker during the whole rest of this race. But he tries to go around the outside of Yasin and does get the move done. But Yasin completely squabbling all over the place. He's definitely being put under pressure. There's a bit of contact, and that could be a bit of front wing gone. Yeah, there's a bit of a shark bite, as we can see on the right end plate there. It mounts the curb. Mounts that curb as well, but Yasin gets a compromised exit. As I noticed the last second, Ruthful is going to try and hang around the outside, get the switch back. Crucially, as Matchon gets the fastest lap of the race. But now Ruthful putting it into overtake mode. They will run side by side into the S's. Oh no, please don't do this, no! They're running side by side into the S's. Yasin, what a move from Ruthful. That is the move of the race so far. He goes around the outside in the S's and gets the move done into P1. So now he needs to create a 9-second gap to Yasin, and he's 1 penalty shy from 12 seconds. So he needs to create a 12-second gap at least if he wants to be safe. There's already 6/10 behind Yasin. Definitely something to mention, but with DRS being as OP as it is in this game, and Ruthful having only 18% ERS to play with, while Yasin has 50. It's definitely going to be a pretty easy task, I'd say, for Yasin eventually, if he needs to overtake. Yeah, Ruthful is insane indeed. That is a move you don't see quite often. But then again, a good play on Yasin for not ramming into the side of him either. But now Chris on his medium tires is closing up to the back of Yasin. Yeah, actually closed into both of these guys. As Matchot sits another fast lap with a 122.735. That's a really good lap. He's definitely flying towards the back of Savy. Actually bests that, not by much. Not by much at all, actually. So definitely proving that the pace is there. Just being able to consistently do that to catch up to the leaders is not. Yeah, there are 2 seasons per race. There's or 2 seasons per game. There's 1 season, for the first 6 months, or I'd say until December or January, and then the rest until the end of the year, in June, July, where F1 2021 will come out next year, if it's a thing. I definitely didn't think F1 2020 was going to come out this year, but they did, and they made it the best game, I think, in the franchise so far. But now Chris is starting to lose touch of the lead, and it's not catching up too much, as there's the yellow flag, and that's Encore. No, not Encore. Who's that? That's Fox on his soft tires. Oh my goodness gracious me! There's drivers driving through each other, and he's lost his whole entire front wing, and now he's holding up Schwack. And now Pixel crucially. Oh, I don't think he knows that there's front wing damage, and he goes wide, luckily to avoid him. And Hazy now will get a bit of that. Going through here, maybe Fox will come back dangerously on track. No. So Fox losing his front wing even more there. It's now red left entire end plates completely gone. Oh yes, he gets a 3-second time penalty. So that's crucial for these guys now. Let me see penalty wise. So Yasin has a 3-second time penalty plus a warning. Ruthful has 1, 2, 3, 9 seconds. So now Ruthful needs to create a 6-second gap in order to win this race. But as things stand now, Yasin will comfortably win this race. So a lot of tense things here for the top two, but Chris isn't able to make anything of it, isn't able to catch up, as there's yellow flags, it's Fox again. He's lost both ends of his end plate now, he's just losing places, hand over fist here. He'll come out in I don't know, there's the Schwack, who's lost his entire left end plate there, and has spun in turn 1, so that's his chances of getting a good top 5 finish over, unless if he sticks it out the whole race. But he's currently not making it easy for Hazy to overtake, and that's definitely going to lead to a lot of conflict perhaps later in the race. But yeah, Ruthful is able to extend the gap a bit, but I think Yasin will comfortably win this race. Going back down grid, Encore actually, who was in P6, is now in P10. So his softs definitely starting to die. Unfortunately, that's just how softs go in this race. We'll check penalty situations again. Did Yasin get another warning? No. Did Ruthful get another warning? Yes. He's one penalty shy of getting 12 seconds. So I think Yasin is going to comfortably win this race. And Ruthful, Yasin almost loses the back end, and that's almost his chances of winning the race completely gone. And I just went for the biggest voice crack ever in my entire life. No one needs to let me know that ever happened, please. I don't want to ever. So now 1 second behind. So the gap's a second now. He might fall out of his DRS. Yasin and Ruthful might be able to capitalize on that and run away with it. But currently, right now, they're pretty even on the ERS, I'd say. But Yasin will definitely want to use his overtake button to try and catch up. But so is Ruthful to try and prevent that. But it looks like Yasin will be able to get the DRS he's just barely in the DRS, but he's there. So Chris, I don't think, has any penalties. Yasin has a 3-second time penalty, and Ruthful has a 9-second time penalty. So now that I think of it, Chris is actually going to win this race because Yasin has a 3-second time penalty. So I don't know what I was talking about with Yasin's going to comfortably win this race. He has a 3-second time penalty, and as long as he stays within 3 seconds, Chris of Yasin, Chris is going to win this race. Let's just check out penalties. See what. Oh, he's on 2 warnings. He's 1 warning shy away from getting a penalty. So really, all Chris has to do is stay within 3 seconds of Yasin, and he wins the race. Because really, right now, Ruthful isn't in the mix. Stay within blah blah blah. He's gonna get 12 seconds, perhaps, maybe. Towards the end of this race, but I think Chris's objective right now is just to stay within 3 seconds of Yasin. Once he stays in between 3 seconds of Yasin, he will win this race. But if he does get a time penalty now, he'll move up into P2 and Yasin into P1, with Ruthful in P3, maybe even P4, with the amount of penalties he has. Maybe even P5 actually, but Polar Haze and Almighty probably have penalties as well. Polar Haze, I remember getting a couple penalties at the start of the race. So right now, Chris is in a really good position. Now he just needs to calmly take these corners, not use any of the track, not abuse any of the track. And there's 1, 2, 3 laps to go after this. So if Chris just keeps it on the track and not do many of those, and doesn't corner cut, get any penalties, the likes, he is going to cross the line as a winner in SOR for, I believe, his debut race of SOR. Now, is it easy to not get any warnings per lap? No, definitely not. As a league racer, I know it's very difficult not to get any penalties. Here especially is one place, and there's yellow flags, and that's a little incident, perhaps, I think, between these two. It's nothing major. Let me just quickly look back up entire grid. Yasin has no more warnings, and Ruthful is 1 warning shy from another penalty. So Ruthful, in my opinion, is out of the mix for the win, but Chris is starting to lose touch with the leaders, and is starting to... Ooh, GC Fungus, after getting such a good race, has crashed out in the final sector. We're right on board with Ruthful. as he might be able to see what exactly happened. But GC Fungus from P12 to P5 at one time is no longer there. Schwack gets the fastest lap of the race. He leaves the session, and his dead body leaves before we'll be able to see what happened. So Ruthful now entering the penultimate lap of this race. It's getting very, very tense. Chris, literally all Chris needs to do is chill out, and actually Pixel and Almighty squabbling here for P5, and Almighty keeps his P5, and Pixel will live to fight another day. These two have the DRS and will be able to run away with it. But really right now I think Pixel is just avoiding all the curbs, as the Mercedes team told their drivers, you know, stay away from the curbs, stay away from this, stay away from that. But it's getting really, really tense here with the penultimate lap of this race. Yasin really wants to win this race on track, but I don't think he'll be able to do that because, you know, with all the penalties. But Chris is just one lap away from winning this race. Oh, he almost extends. I'm going to check penalties because I really don't want to celebrate for nothing. And look at that. He has 2 warnings. He's 1 warning away from getting another penalty. And Yasin is, and yeah, Ruthful is, you know, out of the mix at this point. 2.1 seconds. Oh no, Chris, you need to speed up. Chris, speed up. If Chris, you want to win this race, you need to get a move on. You cannot afford to lose an extra 6/10 in this race. But keep in mind, Yasin does have 3 seconds, and he has the DRS. So if Chris, his only chance right now for Chris winning this race is if Yasin squabbles with Ruthful quite a bit, that Chris will be able to say, hey, how do you do? I'm going to get back in front. But it looks like that gap that we just saw is no longer there. Unless if the delta's wrong. No, it's 2.3 seconds. He's 1 lap away, Chris, from winning this race. He just needs to not get any penalties. If he gets a penalty, it's definitely going to be unfortunate for him. But these two now are definitely going to start to squabble. As you can see, that delta time on the left go down by a 1/10 every single corner, but he's 3/10. Okay, no, now it's gone back up to 2.5, 2.6, 2.7. Okay, so Chris really needs to get a move on now. It's 2.7 seconds. It's danger zone right now. Alarms are going off in his engineer room. 2.8, and there's still 1 more DRS zone left, meaning that he'll be able to extend 2-3 tenths away. But crucially, since dirty air is a big thing in this race, Yasin might just fall to clips of that. I really need to check one last time. Yasin, it says penalty here. Chris, it says no penalties here. And Ruthful, we've seen, has thousands of seconds worth of penalties. Chris is 2/10 shy for winning this race. He's out of the 3 seconds. It's over right now. If he crosses the line now, it's over. Chris won't be running this race. Actually, no, he will. He's, oh my god, it's so close. So Ruthful has done a great job, but unfortunately, with all of his penalties, will come across the line to lose this race. And now he comes across the line now, and he's gonna fall back to Yasin. But Chris has he hasn't managed to cross the line into P1. He wins this race by 1/10 of a second. Chris from I don't know where manages to stay within 3 seconds of Yasin and wins the race by 2/10 of a second. As he crossed the line, it was 3.5, but then it was just enough to get him into P1 as Ruthful gets P3 and Yasin P2, Polarix P4, Pixel P5, Almighty P6, Hazy P7, Maple P8, Encore will cross the line to take a solid P9 in this race. 2 points in this race, but actually he probably will only get 1 point with that penalty, or maybe even no points. And no, he does get points in the end as Madshot gets 11th. Savvy, didn't see towards the end there, but Chris has won this race. What a race! And the driver of the day goes to Maple. Did a lot of overtakes, and I think he came in P8. Not too sure about that. As we see Epic. Yeah, he's definitely happy there, Chris. He has all the right to be happy. He did manage to stay within those 3 seconds towards the end, and it was a very tense battle for the win. But luckily, or unluckily for Yasin, Yasin came so close to winning his first race of the season. But crucially, he got the upper hand on his rival Ruthful, which is something you always want to see, especially when you're a driver. So Chris from P4 wins the race and manages to stay in front of Yasin by 1/10 of a second, almost 2/10. Ruthful in P3, Walters P4, good race from him, P8 to P4, Pixel P5, Almighty P6, Hazy P7, and Maple from P14 to P8 wins the race. But I think maybe the driver they should have been Domester. He started further back and only finished one position behind Maple. So by my math calculations, Domester overtook more cars. But that's just my opinion. Schwark in P10 to round off the points. Encore doesn't get a point in the end. I just realized that. Matt Shot 12th, Savvy P13, Row P14, and that's everyone who finished the race. Then we have GC Fungus, Fox, Bogdan, EDRL, Otto Busfa, and Alensar, who crashed out during the race. So congratulations to our top 3 once again, who are Chris, Yasin, and Ruthful. Thank you all for watching today's Australian Grand Prix. Currently Chris topping off the championship lead with Yasin closely behind, and Ruthful to round up the podium positions in our championship. That's been it for me, Justin here at SOR, your host, and I will catch you all later for next week in Bahrain. Goodbye.